So, Back for Blood is in open beta, and where do I even begin? Is it good? Kinda. To be honest, I don't even know where I stand, personally, with the game. So, is the campaign good? Yeah, sure. I don't care about the overarching story in the slightest, but the gameplay loop is pretty okay. If you ever played Vermintide 2, I think you'll like this game. If you liked Left 4 Dead 2, you'll probably like this game. The progression system feels a lot more modern, where Left 4 Dead doesn't have a progression system, like, at all. So the progression system looks like this. You go out, play some campaign, you get filled in with a bunch of Xbox players with open mic, so you can hear their entire household, and you eventually probably lose. And once you lose, you get a couple in-game currency that you can spend on cards that will augment your playstyle. I personally like all the upgrades that increase the speed of everything, like reloading, aiming, ammo capacity is nice, stamina regen is nice. Those are the ones that I like, but there's a whole bunch of different playstyles that you can build towards. If you ask me, $60 is too much to be asking for a mixed bag. If you have friends to play with consistently, that's 240 bucks. And now think about if all of you would spend 60 hours in this game. I personally could probably play it for 60 hours. I have well over 20 by the time of writing this review. However, I can't see any of my friends playing it for that long, and it seems like the game is best played with friends instead of randoms. It's a very teamwork-oriented game. So the campaign is alright. There's fun to be had. I enjoyed playing on the middle difficulty. It was just hard enough to be a challenge, but not overwhelming. It can be annoying at times due to the corruption cards. Some of them make the already annoying, tanky special infected even tankier. However, some of them are quite fun to play with, like the one that makes the levels darker, and some of them make more enemies spawn, etc. Most of them are pretty benign, but some just straight up make the game less fun. My favorite corruption cards are the ones that reward you with extra buy money for challenging yourself. For example, make it to the end by a certain allotted time, or complete the level without triggering alarms. Those are interactive and optional, but they reward you for going out of your way. The ones that make more alarm doors spawn just prove to be frustrating and unfun. Oftentimes you'll just try and cheese alarm doors by baiting infected to break the door down because, for some reason, when the infected break the doors, they don't trigger the alarms. So, for campaign, I'll give the benefit of the doubt to the issue of randoms being horrible to play with because the game is new. The continues and the matchmaking can be fixed and updated, I'm sure, and the community will eventually figure out how to play the game. However, back to campaign, like I said, the sweet spot is the middle difficulty. If you're like me, you thought, shit, well I can handle expert on Left 4 Dead 2 by myself with no problem, so let's try the nightmare, like, the hardest difficulty in this game. And boy, let me tell you, this game is first of all not meant to be played solo, which is probably why you're not allowed to queue solo in the beta. Not just because they want to be as efficient as they can with their server space, but also because the bots are fucking awful. Sometimes they just run out of the safe room and just start trying to take on the world by themselves, which they cannot do on Nightmare mode. They will die instantly. Maybe on the easier difficulties they can get stuff done, but they just die immediately, like almost every time. I'm sure the second mission on that first campaign is almost impossible on Nightmare. Like, what the fuck? The special infected spawns are way too aggressive, and if you get shitty RNG on what corruption cards you get, then that can just instantly kill your run, basically. But most of the time, it won't even come to that, because your teammates are either 3 bots, or you're just gonna run out of continues in little to no time. I like the fact that common zombies need to be headshot to be killed most efficiently. It feels good. However, the fact that the special infected are designed so fucking stupidly just blows my mind. That's not something that can be easily fixed or patched. Like, here's the scenario. Okay, a bruiser spawns in the house on the first map of the first campaign. His weak spot is behind his head. You can't bait out a hit due to desync, or the AI knowing exact spacing to always hit you. You can't hit his weak point because for some fucking reason they made him walk towards you with his weak spot hidden, unlike every other special infected in the game. You can still damage him, but it does just normal damage, or maybe even reduced damage. And he has a ton of health. It's like fighting a tank from Left 4 Dead 2 with half the health every time. I've never seen this situation happen in game, because I think the game has a system in place to prevent it from happening. But the grabbers still can spawn, and they will spawn, sometimes more than one at a time. And now tell me, how do you counter it? How do you counter a grabber? Dodge it? Okay, sure. You can dodge it a couple times, but it is faster than you, thanks to its charge move. Additionally, there's an incredibly short cooldown on its attack if it misses, so it can grab your teammates, kill them, and then as soon as your teammate dies, it can grab you almost immediately after. Okay, so maybe you can kill it before it reaches you. And that's not happening, because it has way too much health. Your options are to either carry a stun gun on you at all times, or play as the character who can break himself out of grabs. Those are your two options. You can throw a grenade at it and do like 90% of its health, but it'll charge at you, and you're going to be forced to take damage anyways. You can probably unlock the perk to break out of grabs on other characters further down the line, but that's beyond the point. The point is, compare the grabber to its most closest sibling, the charger from Left 4 Dead. The charger can be sidestepped, and it has a long cooldown before it can grab again. The charger can be killed with roughly one clip of a rifle from a single person. If you sidestep it, it can only punch you for pretty sizable amounts of damage, but it won't in-cap you, and it's about the same speed as you. In this game, there is very little one-on-one counterplay to any of the special infected in the game, making it much more teamwork dependent, which is fine. It doesn't have to mirror Left 4 Dead exactly. However, the spawns are so frequent and they move too fast. The fastest and possibly most oppressive special infected is the Hawker. It's a small enemy that looks exactly like the most non-threatening special infected. The Stinger, I think it's called. I don't know, I don't care. The Stinger just damages you from afar, which is annoying, but not instantly life-endangering. The Hawker can basically insta-kill you if you're alone. It can leap and stick to walls. It's very fast. It's comparable to the Hunter from Left 4 Dead, and plays kind of similarly. However, the Hawker is completely ranged and will encase you in web if it lands. There's aim assist, so the projectile will land almost every time. And in order to be freed, you must be meleeed, or you have to free yourself some way in order to stop taking continuous damage from the webs. However, the Hawker doesn't have to put himself in harm's way at all to do this to you. In the versus mode, the Hawker has a 3-second cooldown on missed attack, and a 6-second cooldown after a teammate has been released from its webs. It knocks back and forces people out of position, in addition with synergizing with the Reeker, which is basically the Spitter from Left 4 Dead. If I remember right, you can have only one Hawker in versus at the same time, but I'd need a fact check on it. Also, people are incredibly fucking stupid right now and don't know you're supposed to melee your teammates when they're caught, which is incredibly frustrating. There's almost no way to dodge the attack because of the aim assist. The only counterplay I can find is to burst him down before he catches you. However, he puts himself at almost no risk to force you out of position, in-caps you, and if he misses, he can just try again in 3 seconds. There's almost no punishment for just spamming it from afar. In campaign, you can't just leave your bot teammates to die alone, because if one of these guys catches you, your run is instantly killed. The best counter I've found for the Hawker is to just run the Barrett 50 cal in versus mode, and it looks a little something like this.
Shining like a mega man, I smoke mega man. Don't come at the send you back to where you came from. Niggas with the chain, y'all so Bruce Wayne. If he act mysterious, he get it with my ray. Shining like a mega man, I smoke mega man. Don't come at the send you back to where you came from. Niggas with the chain, y'all so Bruce Wayne. If he act mysterious, he get it with my ray. And if you was curious, yes I'm KK. I'm not somewhere everything the bitches was away. I look so okay, get my 40 and I aim. Marks on his head, now he looking like aim. Don't come let the truth see you back the way you came. I don't want to smooth, bitch, I really want the brain. I just get a scared guy,
speaking of the multiplayer, how is it? Well, when it works, it's not too bad. It's basically versus survival from Left 4 Dead 2. You don't go through campaign levels from start to finish. The devs wanted to make this mode short and sweet, and it's practically impossible for a round to go longer than 5.5 minutes. I've had a few really close intense games. It's pretty interesting. The survivors start by picking a couple cards amidst a pretty large selection of choices, followed by scavenging for supplies around the map. And the infected team earns points for doing damage, and they can put that towards a bunch of interesting upgrades for their special infected and the common infected that spawn around the map. Once the survivor team is wiped out, they swap sides and do it again to see which team can last longer. It's best out of 3, and the infected upgrades, plus card choices, carry over from game 1 to 2 to 3 if it reaches a game 3. However, I'm running out of good things to say about this mode. First of all, picking cards and scavenging for items takes 60 seconds for cards, and then however long to scavenge, it's probably like 45 seconds. Oftentimes, a team won't even survive a minute and 45 seconds. It takes longer for the game to start than to actually play. Speaking of the game starting, queues for versus are almost instant, and the matchmaking is so bad. Most of the time you'll load in, and it's a 1v4, or maybe they forgot to put anyone on the other team, and it's a 4v0. Or if someone leaves, there's no system to join a game in progress, so that team is permanently down a player, which is bad when games 95% of the time are horribly unbalanced and never full. And we're not even taking skill level into effect, and it's still this bad. It's probably easily fixable, but it's such a stupid oversight. I thought this would be something they'd hotfix between the closed beta and the open beta, but no, it's still shit, and there's no punishment for leaving. There's no way to check how many players are in your game until you spend at least 30 seconds picking all your cards. Then you can check the scoreboard and see your team of 4 players has literally nobody to fight against on the other team. So then you disconnect and requeue, and before you can even reach the firing range to fuck around in the hub world, you're sent right into another shit game with nobody in it. It's just ridiculous. I would happily wait just a little bit longer to have a real game. Oftentimes you just play it out with 3v3 or 2v2 or 3v4 because it's close enough. I think I've only had 2 4v4 matches, and they were pretty okay games from what I remember. Also, let's talk about the maps. So you know in Left 4 Dead 2 how you can like spawn on the other side of a hill, walk over it, and then attack from that hill, or from the other side of a fence? Yeah, the out of bounds barriers for the infected are so short, there's way too many maps that feel suffocating, even as an infected. Like the Hawker can climb to walls and jump great distances, and he can't spawn on this part of the roof, but this other half of the roof is okay? Going past this tree would just be too far. But spawning way out here, that's fine. Like, it just makes no sense. It feels so inconsistent and limiting in the places you can spawn. The Versus is a fucking mess. I haven't even talked about the gameplay in Versus. So, it's a survival mode, where you scavenge around the map for resources, and it would make sense if the idea of the game mode was to use your resources as efficiently as possible to survive as long as possible. The maps aren't terribly huge, and these resources are scattered around all over. The loot inside is kind of random, and same with weapons, so with limited resources for the survivors, and an upgrade system for the infected to get stronger the more damage they do, it's a game of whittling down the survivors and forcing them to burn through resources and try to be as efficient as possible. Or so you'd think. In reality, there's a Fortnite Battle Royale storm that constantly shrinks the map down, smaller and smaller, and you will never use every resource on the map, because the map itself cuts them off. It chooses a seemingly random point on the map to be the center of the storm and constantly shrinks, suffocating the team into a smaller and smaller area. By the 5-minute mark, everyone is shoulder to shoulder in a tiny circle in the map, and it is impossible to survive like that, when the Reeker can literally just cover the entire area in acid that will burn your health down. Also, that spit lasts for a long fucking time. It's kind of nuts. But it doesn't do scaling damage like the spitter does in Left 4 Dead, so it's not that overpowered. That's why it's impossible to get a game over 5 minutes in this game mode. Suicide bombers that knock you back into the storm, plus acid boys that can cover the entire playable area, make the mode horribly unfun to play. I know they wanted to make the matches short, but they forgot to make it fun to play too. It doesn't feel good to kill them as an infected due to the game just fucking them over. It doesn't feel good to lose to an infected team you were doing really well against just because the game said, okay, time for you to stop now. It's just mind-bogglingly stupid. The only way I'd spend $60 on this game would be if the multiplayer had any chance of being kind of competitive, which is absolutely not happening. There's no fucking way, unless they pull a Rainbow Six Siege level turnaround. I'd rather play Vermintide 2 for half the price. And also, let's talk about Turtle Rock's track record. Everyone is circle jerking the fact that Turtle Rock worked on the original Left 4 Dead, and they're hyping this game up to be Left 4 Dead 3, but let's not forget about Evolve. Evolve had DLC, and a solid amount of it too. There's almost no doubt in my mind that Turtle Rock would make DLC for this game. There's already skins in the game, I believe, so there will be microtransactions for cosmetics, and likely DLC campaigns as well. Vermintide 2 is half the price, with plenty to do in the base game if you're that desperate for co-op survival horror that isn't Left 4 Dead 2. But otherwise, I'm just gonna stick with Left 4 Dead 2. The game isn't terrible. I wouldn't be upset with you if you bought the game and liked it. The gunplay feels great. The animations have great sound and weight to them. The cards are really interesting and provide plenty of ways to build a character and play the game. The characters are pretty whatever, the lore is pretty whatever, the special infected are annoyingly hard to differentiate between, but it's not game ruining. In campaign, it's not a big deal, and I think this game production was spent 95% of time on campaign and 5% on versus, so if you bought it for that, I'd understand. However, I can play a nearly infinite amount of Left 4 Dead 2 custom campaigns on my computer, on an engine I like more, with characters I like more, with enemies that feel fairer to fight against, with mods for my weapons to make them sound and look better. I struggle to see a reason to pick up this game over Left 4 Dead 2, other than maybe if you're playing on console and want something new and current gen. However, in the current games market, I could squeeze more time out of Risk of Rain 2 than I could in Back 4 Blood, for less than half the price. So do with that what you will. So yeah, thanks for watching. Sorry if this video was long and low effort. I just wanted to sling this out as fast as possible because I don't have a ton of time or energy to make videos anymore, and it'd been a while. If you need me, I have to go pick up cigarettes from the gas station, so I'll see you in a few months maybe. Take care, and don't subscribe.
Best part about waking up is a white girl in your truck.
Hey yo.